I was like, man, how can I do that? How can I never had gone 30 days without eating meat? And so I decided to do it. What did I have to lose? But a few pounds. And I didn't eat meat for 30 days. Day 15, I was still smoking weed though. I was still eating herbs through smoking. And the young lady wouldn't come over and smoke. I never smoked weed by myself. And that night, I smoked by myself, got high as a kite, fell asleep, had the best sleep I ever had. Woke up the next morning, it was lights on. Every light that was on in my house, and it was light coming through the ceiling. And it was as though I was a vampire to cover up, to block this light coming in my house like I was a vampire. I was like, what was it? But I knew right then I would never smoke weed again. I was drug free. Not a 12-step program. It was overnight. I woke up the next day. I was drug free. I didn't smoke another. Smoked since that day, and that was about October 2000. And I called over and said, "You got to get this weed out my house." And she was like, "Can I smell?" I said, "You smoke it over there." I said, "After that, there'll be no more weed smoking in my house." And I never saw her again. Well, I went to the campus the day after that or so, and there was a flyer on the wall for Mama D's Girls. This is a play. And I was like, I'm going to audition for this play. And I auditioned for this play, which would be the first of 3 plays that I've been involved in. And I auditioned for the play, and I was cast in the play. Little I know it was a gospel play. I read the script, and the script was about a young lady who was in the choir who got turned around and started doing worldly music. The script was about me, except for it was a male figure who had been in the choirs and everything, got turned around and did something else and came right back to God. It was about me, but nobody knew. I didn't tell nobody that this was about, but I still was making records. So I went to rehearsal with Jennifer Holliday and Ali Woodson, who passed away this past June, Philip Michael Thomas of Miami Vice and Sparkle fame, and Sherelle, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Sherelle, and Charlie Wilson from the group Gap Band. And I went on the road with these guys, had a great time, and it ended for me in Detroit. And I'll never forget in Detroit at a restaurant, a man came up to me and was like, you dealing with Dr. Malachi Ziyot? And he said, you need to watch your back. I didn't even know Dr. Malachi Ziyot personally, but this man just stepped up to me anonymously, and you need to watch your back. He was with us in New York. I didn't know what he was talking about, but I knew something was wrong. And after that, I ended up back in Hardyville, South Carolina. And when I was let go from the play in Detroit, they gave me a decision. Either you can go back to Hampton, Virginia, or you can go back to Spanish Hills. You got to open in the ticket. I sat at the airport not knowing which way I was going to go. And I just stood there for a second. And then I was clear. Go to Savannah International Airport. Go to Hardyville. So I took my plane ticket. I went down there. And I started... I had records that I made on the road. These are gospel rap records and gospel rhythm and praise records. But I didn't know no artists in the industry of gospel music. I never listened to gospel music. In fact, the last CD that I had bought was Obadiah One's album, who, he was in the holy hip hop community when I first got in it. And I used to tell people, this was my favorite rap artist because I was down with the Nuwapians studying under Dr. Malachi Ziyot. And his music was consistent with the teachings of Dr. Malachi Ziyot. And he was in the holy hip hop community receiving holy hip hop awards, mainly because he did a video called Bible Man. And nobody could dissect the video down to show that he was really just talking about all preachers, not just some preachers who were abusive and abusing their authority. So it was just a weird situation that I did this gospel album without really reading the Bible, because I was a changed man, and that change that happened to me caused me to be able to write poetry more geared toward my life experience as a Christian when I was young. Even though I didn't have much written word in me, I knew right from wrong, and I could tell my testimony in different ways that allowed me to do enough material to create an album called A Living Testimony. My first album was a testimony that I had become a brand new creature and that old things had passed away, and they were continuing to pass away. So I got back and I made 30 copies of this CD called The Living Testimony. I went back to Branchwood and Deer Run and Walls Drive. These are the subsidized housing in Hardyville, South Carolina, and I gave them away. I gave all 30 copies away, and I could hear people play them in their cars, like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? And one song in particular, To All My Family, which was produced by DJ Smooth, my DJ, and my partner with Cross the Tracks Records. So I was like, wow, man, they like that stuff. I'm going to go make some more copies. I went to go buy a 30. I still had money over from the play and stuff, so I said, I'm going to go buy another 30 pack of music CDs, recordables, and I'm gonna dump 30 more in the neighborhood. So I get to Walmart, and a young lady was in there, and she was like, you, Philly Phil, what's going on? I was, what's up? You know, she said, you want to go to church tonight? And I was like, church? You got church at 9:30 at night? She was like, yeah, you come to church tonight, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I kind of said I might come through. I was lying though. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't going to church. And I remember walking away from her, and it was like just stopping in my tracks. How you gonna be doing gospel music and you don't want to fellowship? You know what I'm saying? With the people who gospel music springs from and is all about. You don't want to fellowship with saints. So I was like, I'm going to church tonight. So I ended up going to that church tonight. And when I went in the church, it was so different than anything I was used to growing up at Antioch Baptist Church. It was like what they call it, Pentecostal. So people were singing real loud, shouting. People were speaking in tongues, different manifestations of the Holy Spirit. And I just sat in the back. And after it was all over, she asked, did I wanted to say anything? Because I was quiet. And I was like, yeah, I want to say something. So I went down front and I began to tell them how I ended up leaving out of the dog fighting dope house down the street, and how I ended up right down the dirt road, down the road in their building where people were praising the Lord, and how we used to sit on the back porch sometimes just listen to them sing because they used to keep their door open. But we'd get enough of that and we'd go back to doing what we was doing. But I wanted to tell her how I ended up out of that house into this house. And after I said that, she looked at me and she was like, he's a preacher, but he don't even know it. And I was like, she's like, will you come back next Friday and do something for us? And I'm thinking she talking about sing a song. I had done these new songs, and I was like, I'm going to try this material out on them. You know what I'm saying? See if it's any good. But she was like, yeah. And then I agreed. Came back the next Friday, which was just so happened to be Good Friday. And all of a sudden I realized, they frying chicken in the back and everything. It's men's night. And I didn't know. I'm like, I'm the speaker. I'm the speaker for this evening. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know nothing about the Bible. I didn't even know John 3:16. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, and whosoever believeth on him shall not perish but have everlasting life. I didn't know that. Which is one of the key Bible verses in the New Testament. But I didn't know nothing but John 14, which was a real cornerstone verse too, because it ends with Jesus saying, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh to the Father but by me. So it was as though I'm like, and I stood up and I just started asking God to help me with whatever I'm supposed to say. And I sat back down, and when I opened up the Bible that they had given me to have in their church, and it said, I read the first words. It was in the beginning. I closed it. So when I got up there, I just said in the beginning. And once I said in the beginning, all the words flowed out of my mouth, and it was as though I was out of my body looking at myself preaching in the church. And the stuff that I was saying, I would have never said it like that. So I knew it was something else going on. And then when it was about an hour later, and I got to the last words and I stopped. It was no prayer, no nothing. I just stopped talking. And when I stopped talking, I couldn't open my mouth. So I went and sat down. It was quiet as a church mouse in there. people just quiet. And the lady, I thought I did something wrong, and I didn't know. So then Pastor Garvin was like, everybody take out an envelope, write your name on it, and give him the envelope. And I just put the envelopes in my bag, packed up my gear, and went home. And when I went home, I put the things, I called my mom out, and we opened all of it. It was $230. I was like, man, $230 for 1 hour of talking. I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life. I had made a decision to be a preacher. Little did I know that this next year would be the roughest year of my life. I was just thinking about easy money, but God had a whole nother plan for that decision that I made that night. And I was with them for another 2 weeks. And I remember I sat in their church, and she was preaching about certain events about homosexuality and people in the church relapsing and things like that. And I was just, in my mind, I was so glad that I wasn't involved in such situations. So, this lady looks at me, straight at me, and was like, oh yeah, masturbation is not of God either. Right then I froze, wanted to crawl under my chair. And that was the first time I had any kind of inkling that there was a problem with this. And so I was like, wow, I thought that was cool, you know what I'm saying? So it wasn't, but it was a wake-up call. It was like I was receiving wake-up calls to help me get my life together and get it lined up. And I had become celibate, I was becoming less arrogant. Pride was leaving me, slowly but surely. And I was with them for 2 weeks, and I remember one day she gets up, she's speaking. It's only about 20 people in there, and she says, she's speaking about me, but she's speaking almost in third person, like I'm not even there. He's not going to be with us any longer, but I'm glad he came here first to minister and da-da-da-da. And I'm just listening to her like, wow, that would be my last day there. I went to the library like the next day or so and looked up and came across Gang Conference 2001, New Birth, Lithonia, Georgia.